Yes, health is wealth, the popular and wise counsel, applicable now more than ever, with accessing good medical care and becoming extremely expensive and unreachable to most of us.
Yes, John. And I'm very positive that the engagement with Dr. Ngozi Onya will be free consultation for a lot of you out there today. She's a 1982 graduate of the University of Ibadan, fellow, West African College of Physicians in Pediatrics, and a travel health physician. Our guest is the medical director, Palon Memorial Hospital, a multi-specialty hospital providing health services of the highest quality in one place and focusing on safe, timely, evidence-based and patient care, centered care. Dr. Onya sits on the board of several health organizations as well as being a member of the Guild of Medical Directors, Healthcare Federation of Nigeria, Pediatric Association of Nigeria, to mention but a few. Join us right now to welcome to the studio Dr. Ngozi Onya.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
How have you been?
Very well, thank you. Traveling a lot.
Yeah, traveling a lot.
Traveling healthcare.
Well, I'll have you know that not only our children are coughing, but many adults are also doing the same. It's so good to have you on the show, Dr. Onya.
Thank you very much.
Unravel a few things for us in a moment, I'm sure.
I will try to. This is one of my favorite topics.
Awesome.
Okay.
So you see that the first
ladies first after gentlemen.
Not now.
So,
lady was first, with the first guest. So you go now.
So Dr. Ngozi Onya, could you tell us? We so many of us we've taken coughing or coughs like a normal thing. What is so special about coughs and what causes persistent coughing in children? Okay,
let me start by defining in very simple terms the cough. If the airways attempt to expel something that is irritating it. Okay. So various things can irritate the airway, from foreign bodies to inflammation and so on, but it's just the body's way to try and to expel an irritation in the airway. Talking about persistent cough, so imagine we talk about a chronic cough. A chronic cough is a cough that lasts for more than 3 weeks.
Okay.
And the two commonest causes of a chronic cough will be, one, in my opinion, a reactive airway, and two, tuberculosis. Whoa. That's a chronic cough lasting for more than 3 weeks. However, a persistent cough is just coughing continuously in a burst. And various things, from something going down the wrong way in your throat to, again, just inflammation. Yes, that can go on and on until the airway feels less irritated. The person continues to cough. So again, I said a foreign body, something as simple as even just water going down the wrong way, but most commonly also in children, inflammation. So I think a lot of what we will discuss today will center around inflammation and a hyperreactive airway.
Okay. Okay, setting the pace. We still are setting the pace. So how can parents differentiate between a simple cough and that one that might indicate more serious condition?
I think for the kind of audience you will have today, we will be talking mostly about the hyperreactive airway. So a simple cough will be short, 1 or 2 coughs, and that's it. And then it will go after a couple of days, 3 days, 4 days. However, if a person, if there's a fever associated with the cough, that might indicate something more serious. If it's a persistent cough and recurrent, so very often the person coughs for a long period of time, the cough that is associated with being in bed, so either early in the morning or at night. So causes nighttime awakenings, that is also something that you'll see. Something that is disturbing and worrying. Of course, cough that is associated with blood, so productive of bloody sputum, that's also worrying. I think those are the major things I would think of. That would be, of course, a cough that lasts for too long.
So too long is 1 month, 2 months, 1 week, 2 weeks?
I think a cough that lasts more than 1 week, you should seek care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there are coughs and there are coughs. sometimes I'll cough to get your attention.
Yes.
And a lot of children will do that. So a cough the scope of a cough would be from maybe just clearing the throat to a very violent, maybe a violent fit sometimes. When should we get worried? At what point?
I think again it goes back to a cough associated with a fever will indicate an infection.
Okay.
So that's worrying.
One.
A cough that is persistent, so clearing your throat is, but a cough that goes on and on at the same time, a coughing fit like you described, is also very worrying. No child will be able to put up a coughing fit, so you can pretend to cough once or twice, but a fit of coughing is worrying. Then I said coughing that wakes people up at night is also worrying, or early in the morning, so associated with being in bed. And then the cough that lasts for too long. A chronic cough, like I defined, is one that lasts for more than 3 weeks. That's also
so when my daughter is coughing and she doesn't want to go to school, I can ignore that. You know, you can identify that cough as the attention cough, attention getting cough.
Well, yes, but your daughter can put up, for example, a fever.
Okay.
Can't wake herself up at night to cough and be unable to sleep.
Yeah.
Your daughter won't be able to have a coughing fit.
Yeah.
She will cough, but it will be clear.
Yeah.
So those
Okay.
people-
So
All right. So the tantrums and they're not such important when you talk about coughs.
No,
So can you explain the role of allergies and asthma in causing chronic coughing in children?
So that's what I was
Are
talking
they-
about, the hyperreactive airway. That's people, that's asthma.
Okay.
The hyperreactive airway. So what it is, like I said to everybody, if any of us goes into a smoke-filled room, our lungs will go into spasm, our bronchioles will go into spasm. And that's normal. And that's why people, die of smoke inhalation. But for people who are hyperreactive, they appear to be going into, it appears that they are in a smoke-filled room when they are exposed to normal allergens, so dust. So what you and I will just, clean, would make them react like they're in a smoke-filled room, and then their lungs will go into spasms, their airways will go into spasms, and that's the difference between people who have asthma and those who don't. So they have hyper-reactive airways. Their airways react too much and react to normal allergens, to normal antigens, to smoke, to insecticides, to hydrocarbons, to smells, sometimes even sometimes to emotions, exercise. These are all possible triggers to smoking cigarettes.
I remember that when my daughter was maybe about a year or two, and we noticed that she had a few issues with them, we were actually asked to relocate from that area where we lived, because the doctor asked, do you live near an expressway, do you do this? I said the best thing is to move away from. How many of us will have
That's heavy.
that kind of
Luxury.
yes.
Well, that's yes. So the thing is, remove the trigger. So that's what the doctor tried to say. So if the trigger is hydrocarbon from exhaust fumes on an expressway, try and remove the trigger. But then, like you said, that's not always possible. I'll tell you the story of a Nigerian child born in the UK, lived in the UK all his life, and came to Nigeria for the first time, maybe at about the age of 15 or 16. The minute he landed in Murtala Mohammed Airport, he went into severe bronchospasm. He ended up in an intensive care unit.
Whoa.
Because of the difference in the hydrocarbon level, environmental pollutants.
Wow.
So of course the mother said she will never bring him back to Nigeria. I understand that. But my point is, you can't always relocate. So sometimes, but there are drugs one can take to prevent bronchospasms.
But this also points at government, the environment.
Yes, of course.
Control of.
Of course, our environment is very polluted. I think one of the biggest pollutants for us will be generators and old cars. So the hydrocarbon levels will be quite high in Nigeria.
Whoa, yeah, of course.
Wow. And rubbish dumped everywhere, burning
The burning of rubbish.
Okay. So is that something we can do at home? And if yes, what are those effective home remedies that parents who are watching now can use to soothe, a child's cough?
You've heard of so many.
Yes, so many things that people ask us to do.
Can I start by saying that the first and most important thing, if we're talking about reactive airway, which is what is actually my interest, is to remove the triggers. So let me try and list some of the triggers. A very common one, insecticide. I say to a lot of parents that the insecticide is more dangerous to their child than the mosquitoes they're trying to get rid of. The honest truth is that in Lagos, malaria has been significantly rolled back by the Rollback Malaria Initiative, particularly on Lagos Island. So mosquitoes are not the cause of malaria. They just transmit the plasmodium that causes malaria. And somehow we've been able to reduce that load of plasmodium on Lagos Island. I can speak about Lagos Island because this is where I practice. And so malaria is a very uncommon illness now, Lagos Island. But asthma, on the other hand, or hyperactive airways, cough, bronchospasm is on the increase. And so I had a child, for example, yesterday in the hospital. And when I mentioned this to the dad said, yes, I did heavy spraying of the house the day before this happened. So insecticide is a no-no. And it's not if you have a child who has a hyperactive airway, you cannot say you sprayed and then you went out and came back. These are residual sprays. When you come back, it will still be there. Okay. So let us find other ways of keeping insects out of our houses.
Such as?
Screens. Keep your door shut. Mosquito screens, keep your door shut.
But you come in and go out at some point. Something will
minimize.
Okay. You minimize it, but you can't. But to be honest, insecticides are no.
Occasional fumigation.
When you're traveling and then you're gone for many weeks and then you come back.
Then you come back.
Then the second is the use of the generators. So my first child, who is now almost 40, she's asthmatic. And I remember that when she came back from university, she was constantly in hospital with asthma attack. But looking back now, her bedroom was just by the generator. And because a lot of children who are asthmatic don't like cold, she didn't use the air conditioner, so her windows were constantly open and she was always ill. And when she got married, suddenly the asthma attack disappeared, and I want that. And then it occurred to me it was the generator. So you must be careful about where the exhaust fumes of a generator points and where you keep your child who has a tendency to asthma. So that's another trigger. Another thing is, I remember a child who used to go to school from Lekki to Ikeja, growing school, and we sit in traffic. And again, like I said, asthmatic children generally don't like air conditioning. And so they will put the windows down. And the hydrocarbons from the cars, will come into and then it will trigger off the bronchospasm. So that's another big thing. So if a person with this hyperactive tendencies has to be in traffic, your windows must be up and you must cut out the circulation so that air is recirculating only within. Yeah. Then for some people it's pollen in the gardens. And then exercise, like I mentioned earlier. A very important one I didn't mention, the house mite, probably the commonest globally. The house mite, which is on the bed, furniture. So that is why children will now have the nighttime awakening. So when they're lying in bed, the mites will. And the mite is ubiquitous. It's in Buckingham Palace and it's in Ajegunle. It's everywhere. So they need to change their sheets very frequently. And then there are these asthma mattress covers, rubberized, that used to cover the mattress before the bed sheets to keep the mites down. So I think I've mentioned some of the commonest, of course, a respiratory infection. It's a common trigger. So they catch a cold, it will trigger an asthma attack as well.
It will look like you can run, but you can't hide. Because all these triggers, there's so many triggers, and they're everywhere. They're all over us. Now, still talking about remedies. Now, let's even go over the counter now. Cough medicines. What do you think parents should know before choosing or administering cough medicines over the counter cough medicines?
To be honest, pediatricians don't prescribe cough medicines. So it's not something we don't prescribe cough medicines because they are, as a pediatrician, you want to get to the root of the illness, not to give you symptomatic relief. This is just symptomatic relief. Relief is like if you have a fever, giving you paracetamol brings your temperature down. It doesn't get rid of what is causing the fever. So generally, as pediatricians, we don't recommend cough syrups. So it's not something I really like to talk a lot about.
Well, we get that all the time. In fact, my little boy is on cough syrup at the moment, and I've been wondering. You've had this for 3-4 days, and the cough is not totally gone, especially at night. So what other things, if not cough syrup, what do we do? Okay,
so the commonest cause of cough that is not asthma or airway reactivity will be an infection. Those are the commonest cause. And the commonest infections are viral infections. Viral infections are self-limiting. Irrespective of what you do.
What does that mean?
They go by themselves. Irrespective of what you do, a viral infection will go in about 7 days, irrespective of what you do or do not do. If it's a bacterial infection, on the other hand, you will require an antibiotic. But like I said, I think well over 70% of infections will be viral, and they are self-limiting. So you will start this cough syrup today, not getting better. 4 days later, you get another one, not getting better, and then on the 5th day you take another one, and then on the 7th day it goes. It had nothing to do with the cough syrup. It had to do with the fact that it was a self-limiting illness because it was viral, and that it went.
Okay. So your child is coughing and you just wait.
We usually say for 3 days. We say for 3 days. If after 3 days an illness persists, then you may want to see your doctor. So it's not just the cough. You're not going to the hospital just because of the cough. The cough is associated with fever, the child. But if the child is coughing and running around and quite happy, hey, please wait.
Maybe some hot water?
Those are home remedies. Why not?
Because first aid first. Because do some of those that are not harmful.
We're all masters of home remedies. I was just thinking about my good old bitter cola.
That's for an adult. Come on, John.
And then of course. So if it's a dry cough, then maybe use an expectorant.
Yes.
If it's a wet cough, then you can use maybe a mucolytic cough mixture. But to be honest, I will not recommend any. I'm not against any, but I will not prescribe any.
All right, a final word that every mother that has watched this show today, if they have forgotten every other thing, what do you remember?
What you must remember is that you don't need to give an antibiotic for every cough. Most coughs will not require antibiotics. I see a lot of antibiotic abuse. Children who have been on antibiotic non-stop for 6 months, from one antibiotic to the other. Those kind of children probably have reactive airways, and what they require will be bronchodilators like Ventolin. Please don't prescribe that yourself. Go and see the doctor. Refuse to take antibiotics without a blood test that shows that there is an infection. If there is no infection, you don't require an antibiotic. And if you are giving a cough syrup and it's more than 7 days and the cough still persists, then it is probably a reactive airway, and what you will require will be the management of asthma. There is a stepwise, but starting with a bronchodilator like Ventolin, that's the commonest, salbutamol.
Seek help.
Yes, but seek help, exactly.
I never would have imagined that something as simple as cough, would be such a wide.
This body is.
It's like we need more than 30 minutes to deal with this.
Yes.
So we're going to have to ask Dr. Onya to do this again
at some point,
because he brought out some very salient.
Is it 30 minutes already?
Yes,
it's almost. It's almost. Wow.
I'm sure that that was a full dose of medication without the tablets, without the antibiotics, the injections, and what have you. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. We surely will knock at your door again, like John said, and have you back on the show.
I'm always at her door anyway. So prevention is always better than cure. We've given you enough to keep you healthy and productive. We want to thank Dr. Ngozi Onya for her time today, and like I said, we hope that you'll be with us again on this show. We really need you. If it was possible, we'll bring you in as a permanent doctor in the house.
Because health is really key. It's at the bottom of everything else.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. Thank you for coming.
And once again, thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, so certainly a lot of progress has been made today on the show. Our next stop and final concern is a big one: the Nigerian economic landscape, impact on governance, family, and business. And we're having Shuaibu Idris, a public commentator and the managing director of CEO Timeline Consulting. We shall take another breather to return with Shuaibu Idris. You don't want to miss this, so please join us.